Hey guys, this is Carl from carlsapsy.com here with another tutorial. If you have any questions about my videos or anything in general, head to my website and you can message me via my Contact Me page. Or if you want to, just leave me a message down below in the comment section and like my videos and subscribe to me if you want to. So what we're going to be going through today is what classes are, what objects are, and the members of the classes and objects. What we're also going to be starting to do today is we're going to be starting to develop our first program involving classes and methods, as well as attributes. So this is the very basics of how we're going to be starting to make complex programs. So after this, I'll be starting to use the same kind of format, except it'll be more in depth and it will start to get a bit more complicated. But obviously, I'll be going through explanations as I do it. So the first thing is, what is a class? So a class is a collection of many different attributes, which creates the object state. The class contains all the information about a specific object. So, for example, let's take a car. So we can make a class called car or my car, and all the information will be contained about the car. So the first thing we can have is attributes within the car. So the attributes would be known as, the number of doors, the engine, the so your number of doors, the number of windows, the type of car it is. So for example, the model or the make, things like that. Okay, so what kind of materials the seats are made out of, and it can be millions of different things. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to be showing you how to make a very basic application which will give us information about ourselves. So I'm going to make a class called person, and within person, you got to think about what kind of attributes it has. So what do we have? So we've obviously got a name, an age, hair color, an eye color. And depending on how old you are, you may be in school, so you could say year at school. So that's what I'm going to be making. And then I'm going to be making a method, which will be called talk. Now, what a method is, it's an action. So you're asking the method to do something to the object of that class. What's going to happen is, I'm going to tell, if I make a new person, okay, and I call that person Carl, or if I call it Johnny or whatever I want to call it, and then I say, I want you to talk. I want it to tell me the information I've just given the object. Okay? So this may not make complete sense right now, but it's quite easy to follow, and I'm going to show you exactly how to do this. Okay, so we're going to, first of all, make a new BlueJ project. So go into Project, New Project, and then make a new project. I've called mine Class Example, and I'm going to create a new class first of all. Now this class I'm going to call Person. Okay. Now, in BlueJ, the way it works is you normally have all your classes in separate little boxes. So you can have person here. If you're going to have another class, you could put it here. Another class would be put it here, rather than keeping everything in one box. That way, it makes it a bit more visually clear. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have an attribute, which is going to be called name. Notice how I've declared it string, because name is going to be within inverted commas. Therefore, it needs to have a type string. Next thing I'm going to do is have an integer age. Okay, so that could be 18. It could be 20. It could be whatever age you are. Next thing I'm going to have is a string, which will be for my hair color. And hair color, could be anything I want. So, it could be red, blue, black, whatever. Then I can have a string for eye color. Again, you can have blue eyes, you can have green eyes, you can have black, etc. And then, I'll just say int year at school. Okay, oops. Now what I'll also do is I'll also include an if-else statement, or at least I'll try to, just to show you what we've been using from our previous tutorials. Okay, so as it's an integer again, so this generally would range from 1 to 13. Okay, assuming you go to sixth form or something, or college. Okay, so now that that's done, so these are my main attributes. So whenever I make a new object, they're always going to contain these values. Okay, so they're always going to have a name, they're always going to have an age, and always going to have an eye color and a hair color, and always going to be, and always can have a year at school as well. Now, if I want to tell the person to talk to me, I'm going to need to make a method. Now, I can say public to allow anyone to access it, and I'm going to say talk. Now, if I compile this, it's saying a return type is required. Therefore, you need to write void. Now, what void does is void has no return value. What it will simply do, it'll print out statements, or it will just execute the block of code within. However, it won't return any values. It'll just simply execute it and print it out. Okay, so within here, because that's what we want to do, I'm going to say my name is, so you can say system.out.println. My name is, and then plus name. Now what I've done here is I've said in a string my name is, and then I left a space, and then I've said plus name. So this name variable here refers to the name that I'm going to be assigning it later on. Okay, and the fact that I use the plus sign means I'm concatenating my name is plus the variable name, which will also be a string. And when you concatenate two strings together, they become one string. Now I'm going to be doing the same for my age, my hair color, and eye color, as well as year at school. Okay, so I'm going to quickly just pause the video until I just quickly write that in. Okay, so now quickly just put this in. Now, if you're not in school, so let's say that you finish school or you finish college or whatever, so you're not actually in school anymore, you're obviously not going to be within the range of 1 to 13 because you're no longer in education. So you can make an if statement or an if-else statement, which would just be if year at school is smaller than or equal to 13. Okay, so what I'm saying here is if the year at school value, which I'm going to assign, is smaller than 13 or equal to 13, then I'm going to simply print out I am in year, and then the year at school. However, if you're not within the range, so if you're within the range of 1 to 13, then you are in school. But if you're not within the range, so you can say else okay, so what I've said here is all I've said is if year at school is smaller than or equal to 13, then I want to print that I'm in year, whatever year you are at school. And if you're not within this range, so if you're older than 13, then you're going to print out I'm not in school. Okay, so now what we have here is our first method. And that's all there is to it. So now what we've done is we've created a class, we've created a bunch of attributes or fields, and we've created our first method. Now, in future tutorials, I will be showing you what the issue with just having this here is, because these need to have private restrictors, because it helps with security. But that'll come onto them in future tutorials. Okay, so once we've done this, so now this is we can compile this. There are no syntax errors, and we're done. So now we can exit this. Okay, and oops, I think I exited too many. Yep, here we go. And I'm going to make a new class, and this new class I'm going to call person app. And I'm going to go ahead and take all this out. Right, now, if I just move this to the side, then get person up. Shrink this down a bit. Okay, cool, there you go. So now you can see both of the pieces of code. So, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to have a main method. So I'm going to say public static void main string array args. Right, now I've got my main method, so the main application is going to be in there. And I need to create a object. So I need to create an instance of the class. Now, creating an instance of a class is called instantiation. So what this involves is me creating a new person. And I can create as many people as I'd like. Okay, so I can have, person 1, person 2, person 3, person 4, up to person n. There's no limit as to how many instances I can have of an object. So the way you do this is you first of all type in the class name, so person, because that's where we're getting our information from. Then we're going to have the variable name. So in this case, I'm just going to call it Carl, and that's going to be equal to a new person. So let me explain this. First of all, you've got your class name where you're getting your information from. So that's going to be from here. So by initializing the person, I'm saying, okay, I want to have all my data coming from here. Okay, I've assigned it a variable called Carl, and I'm creating a new person. So I'm creating a new instance of person. So therefore, Carl will now take on it can have a name, an age, a hair color, an eye color, a year at school, and I can also make him talk. That's what that statement means. So every time I want to create a new person, so if I wanted to say person Johnny is equal to new person. Okay, now again, Johnny will take on all these values. However, so Carl, will take on all these values. However, mine will be separate from Johnny. Therefore, they won't collide with each other at all. It's just like having two regular people. So if I'm 20, if I'm not in school, that won't affect the fact that there's someone called Johnny who's 13 and he is in school. Okay, they're independent from each other. There are two ways of writing this. This is one way. So the other way I can do this is if I were to delete this and write person Carl, comma, Johnny, and then say Carl is equal to new person, and Johnny is equal to new person. That is also allowed to be done. Okay, so both syntaxes are both ways of writing it are completely fine. So now let's start to give Carl some attributes and then Johnny some attributes. So first of all, we've got this thing called a dot notation. So if you're trying to call a particular attribute, or if you're trying to call a method, or a class if you're using a static attribute or a static method or a static class, you have to use something called the dot notation. Now this is very easy to implement. So let's say I want to have a name. Okay, so string name. The way I do it is I'd write the variable name, so Carl, dot, and then name. Okay, so what I've done here is I've simply said I would like to input a name, so I've said name, and I want to assign it to variable Carl, and I'm going to make this equal to Carl. Again, as it's a statement, it ends with a semicolon. Next, I'm going to be doing the same thing for age, so I can say Carl.age is equal to 20. I can say Carl.haircolor is equal to black, and Carl.eyecolor is equal to brown, and Carl.year at school is equal to, say, 14. Okay, so now what I've done here is I've assigned values to each of the string, age, hair color, eye color, and year at school. I've assigned values to all of these. So now when I say talk, when I want Carl to talk, it'll print out my name is, and then plus the name, so which is now Carl. My age is 20. I have black colored hair. I have brown colored eyes, and, well, I'm not in school because I've inputted a value of 14 rather than 13 or below. Okay. Now I can do the same thing for Johnny. So I can say Johnny.name is equal to Johnny. Johnny.age is equal to, let's say, 16. Johnny.hair color is equal to blonde. Johnny.eye color is equal to brown, blue. And Johnny.year at school is equal to, I think it's year 11. Okay. Also, as I'm using strings, what you also must remember is that as is a string, it has to be within double quotation marks. Okay, so, or double speech marks. They have to be, otherwise it won't compile. So now if I click on compile, oops, sorry. See, as I've done here, as I've forgotten to put it within speech marks, it won't compile. Okay. No syntax errors are found, because everything, what I've written here, is considered to be legal. So all I've done is I've assigned for my person called Carl. It's got a name, age, hair color, eye color, and year at school. Then I've made another person called Johnny, and Johnny is 16, blonde, blue-eyed, and he's in year 11. Okay, so none of these coincide with each other. And even if I had, year at school to be 11 for both of them, it makes no difference because they're both independent. Okay, so when you create a new person, you are storing it in a new place in memory. Therefore, they do not collide at all. They're completely independent from each other. Now, to end it, let's say I want to reveal the information. So I can now say Carl.talk and Johnny.talk. What's going to happen is, one sec, I just want to make this a bit easier. Okay, sorry, so once this basically ends, then it'll add a space in between. So when both of these run, there'll be a space in between. Okay? Now, what's going to happen is I've decided that I want to use a method. Now, when you're using a method, or when you want to call a method or invoke a method, you're saying you want Carl to invoke or call the method talk, and talk just has no attributes. Okay, so talk has no attributes. I'm literally just copying and pasting talk from one place to another. Because this is a method, it has to have parentheses. So because methods can take into account different parameters or arguments, as some may call it. You don't have to, as I've done in this case, but they can. So I've done this for both Johnny and for Carl. So now when I print out, when I call talk, Carl is going to print out my name is Carl, my age is 20, and so on and so forth. And Johnny's going to print out my name is Johnny, my age is 16, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let me just go ahead and compile and exit this wherever. There it is. Okay, and if you also see here, person app, which is what I've called the class, person app, has now got a dotted line or dashed line going to person, meaning they link up to each other. So right click on person app, void main string array of args, and then press enter. And here you go. It says, my name is Carl, my age is 20, I have black coloured hair, I have brown coloured eyes, and I'm not in school. My name is Johnny, I am 16, or my age is 16, I have blonde coloured hair, and blue coloured eyes, and I'm in year 11. Now, it kind of looks a bit messy, and the reason is you need to add spaces in between here. So, in my age is 16, so that should be fine now. And take that out. Okay, cool. No, that way it just makes it a bit cleaner. So if I clear this, then rerun it, compile it. Okay, bingo. So my name is Carl, my age is 20, I have black coloured hair, I have brown coloured eyes, and I'm not in school. My name is Johnny, I am 16, I have blonde coloured hair, I have blue coloured eyes, and I'm in year 11. So that's what I've done over here. So I've created two people, which therefore saves any data into two different memory locations. And I've given them all values. And all I've done is simply printed out these values using strings through string concatenation. And that's about it. Okay, if you'd like me to make any more videos about how you can make classes and objects and attributes and methods, I will be doing them in anyways, but if you'd like anything on a basic level like this, then just feel free to email me or drop me a message down below. And if you've understood it, then brilliant. Then you can watch my next tutorial. And thank you very much for watching. This is Carl from carlsapsy.com.